Hey guys, LevelCap here and welcome to another episode of This Week in Gaming. Bluehole recently identified a new cheating pattern in PUBG and is responding by permanently banning 100,000 players. The pattern was identified after analyzing millions of data logs. The total number of cheaters banned from PUBG reached an insane 1.5 million players last month, doubling the total from the prior month. Players have been blaming the massive influx of Chinese players for the recent explosion of cheats being developed and used. Thankfully, Bluehole is finally going to pursue legal action against cheat developers. They're also continuing to monitor data logs and improve their security measures. Until Bluehole announce an update on the total number of banned players, there's no way to know if the measures they've taken so far have been effective. A ban wave of 100,000 players is no joke though, but in PUBG's case, it could just be the tip of the iceberg. Now as for PUBG gameplay changes, the devs are trying out some big changes to the blue zone in an effort to speed up the mid-game pacing. The waiting time of the blue zones in mid and late game phases have been slightly reduced, giving players less time in between shrinks, but the shrinks will happen at a slower pace overall. They've also increased the damage per second on the final blue zone. Technical issues aside, pacing is probably one of PUBG's most discussed problems. Some people enjoy how it is currently, while others feel the action essentially dies in the mid-game and it becomes quite boring. These blue zone changes will certainly encourage players to move inward faster. PC players can try the changes out now on the test server, which should remain live for several days of testing. Future changes to other balance issues are in the works. Also, if you see enemies shooting with no recoil in your death cam, it's likely not a cheater and is just an issue with the spectating system. Bluehole intends to address that issue quickly. The other massive battle royale contending for the #1 gaming spot, Fortnite, is also undergoing some potential dramatic changes. The free-to-play game's main map was overhauled in the latest patch, replacing empty areas of the map with small towns, a new city, and even a mine. Another big gameplay change is friendly fire being temporarily disabled. If the community likes the change, it could end up being permanent. Performance has also been improved. Players should see better FPS, reduced loading times, especially on the console, and less hitching caused by the processes behind the scenes. Overall, this patch is a pretty major one. Fortnite is growing so quickly that its developers are considering slowing down work on their MOBA Paragon. They've already shuffled some employees from working on Paragon to Fortnite and are currently reconsidering the MOBA's future. Since its release in March of 2016, Paragon has struggled to find a mainstream success. Crytek's upcoming Battle Royale game Hunt Showdown will be in closed alpha starting on the 31st. It's definitely one of my more anticipated games of the year and I'm really hoping it lives up to the hype. Sign-ups are currently available on the game's website. Invites will be sent out in multiple waves, so if you don't get in when the closed alpha begins, there's a chance you will be added at some point later. Single-player survival shooter We Happy Few has been delayed. Originally scheduled for release in April, it will now launch sometime this summer. The delay was made to rework basically the whole first act of the game. It's set in a dystopian, retro-futuristic England. It kind of has a BioShock meets Dishonored vibe to it, both in gameplay and visual design. We Happy Few looks like a game with tons of potential. Hopefully the delay gives them enough time to really get it up to snuff. A new game set in the Alien movie franchise is currently in development at the newly formed Cold Iron Studios. The studio was founded by industry veterans who worked on Neverwinter, BioShock Infinite, Borderlands, and Metroid Prime. It will be the studio's first game and is likely being developed as a PC shooter of some kind. Unfortunately, it's unrelated to Alien Isolation, but that was done by a different studio. Unfortunately, I don't think there's any plans to do a follow-up to Alien Isolation. Activision's CEO is stepping down. Eric Hirshberg has been with the company for 8 years and is one of the most prominent faces of the Call of Duty franchise. He regularly appeared at announcement events like E3 to reveal the latest COD titles. He was also partially responsible for Destiny being greenlit. 2017's top-selling game was COD World War II, so it's unlikely sales performance has anything to do with his departure. Just for the sake of comparison, PUBG sold over 20 million copies last year, so COD did really well. Nintendo revealed a new product called LABO that uses the Switch's Joy-Con controllers and foldable cardboard parts to create kid-friendly toys and games. Such toys include a piano and an RC car. Once built, the toys will work with the Switch to create interactive game controllers. LABO doesn't have much appeal for the hardcore gamers, but it looks like a great way to get kids interested in building stuff. Now, if we can integrate LEGO to the equation somewhere, I'm all on board. One of esports' biggest event organizers, ESL, have made a bizarre move. Their CSGO Pro League will now be broadcast exclusively on Facebook. ESL previously had a similar deal with Twitch, then moved to YouTube. They are projecting a 10 to 15% audience loss, but expect to grow because of how many viewers they'll reach in the long run. Facebook clearly isn't known as a hub for esports broadcasting, so maybe their plan will work. Fortunately, a Facebook account isn't required to watch the events. In our final story this week, details for the next Battlefield 1 DLC, Apocalypse, have been released. Set during the final days of World War I, the maps in Apocalypse will feature run-down, war-torn areas to fight over in the final battles of World War I. As usual, the DLC will also include a variety of new weapons and gadgets. Some standouts are an anti-air rocket gun for the Assault class, a camera pigeon that may or may not make it to the final game, and the Livens projector, a stationary weapon that shoots massive poisonous gas canisters. As for game modes, air superiority is making a comeback in a new game mode called Air Assault. It will include dogfighting against airships and other airplanes and will be playable on at least 2 maps made specifically for the mode. There's tons of other stuff coming in the DLC, and I covered it all in my video about it earlier this week. Be sure to check it out. And that about wraps it up for today's episode of This Week in Gaming. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know down below which article you thought was the most interesting, or if there's something else you think I should have covered. And I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.